a tale of two coaches, the tale of John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. These two AFC North competitors. I believe John Harbaugh was with the Baltimore Ravens for 18 years. He won a Super Bowl as a Ravens coach. Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 19 years. He won a Super Bowl and appeared in another. These two coaches probably played more head-to-heads than any two coaches in the history of the National Football League. Their stories have mirrored each other. And they've been celebrated coaches. John Harbaugh is, I believe, 63. Mike Tomlin is 53. Tomlin resigns. John Harbaugh gets fired. Both of them for, not doing enough in the playoffs in the past 6, 7, 8, 10. In Tomlin's case, 15 years. Both of them in their careers or in their tenures with Pittsburgh and Baltimore, respectfully. And John Harbaugh immediately, days, I think less than a week after being fired, is named the head coach of one of the most iconic franchises in the NFL, the New York Giants. And not only that, they drop $100 million on him. $20 million a year. He's one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL, if not the highest paid coach in the NFL. Maybe Andy Reid makes more money, but I don't know what Andy Reid makes for sure. But holy cow, Harbaugh immediately heads back into the coaching arena with the New York Giants, with a young quarterback in Jackson Dart, with an organization that's got a proud history, a Super Bowl history. He lands what many believe to be the best job in football. He's 63 years old, 10 years older than Mike Tomlin. I want to play a clip of Steve Bisciotti because I want to contrast this to what's going on with Mike Tomlin. Steve Bisciotti at his press conference talking about, firing Harbaugh and putting a bow on the end of the season. He had some advice that he said he gave John Harbaugh about taking a year or two off, and Harbaugh doesn't take that advice clearly, but let's play that clip.
And I talked to him about taking a year off. I said, you're 63 years old. Allison just went to law school. You're an empty nester. If you go to work for somebody else, I get offset, so I'm saving a whole lot of money. But I'd be more than happy to give you a very expensive paid vacation for a year if you and Ingrid would pray on that and come to the decision that you could go out and travel and golf together and rifle. She's a marksman now, and they do love to travel when they're free. And I said, a whole year of that at 63 is a lot different than if you take another job and that is 75. As we get older, you start realizing that, 5-year chunks are changes in your life. And so I really, really, really would have hoped that he took a year off out of this crazy business that you work 80 hours a week and got a chance, because I said, like your friend Sean Payton, you'll still be the hottest coach next year. And you can do a little broadcasting and you can do a little traveling, and then you can get back into it.
So there's Steve Bisciotti giving Harbaugh the advice that Harbaugh's like, nah, man, Giants job is open. I'm going to break the bank. I'm going to get $100 million. Yeah, I'm 63. I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity right now. Me and my wife, Ingrid, I think that was, he said her name, we're not going on any kind of vacations. We're not going to have, I think it's great advice Bisciotti's giving him. But these guys are coaches, and they're driven, and they want to be all-time greats, and they want to get in the Hall of Fame, and they're just, their egos require them being at work, constantly working and constantly chasing that dream. But here's Mike Tomlin, who's 53 years old, 10 years younger. And he actually seems to be taking Steve Bisciotti's advice, because he is taking a year or 2 or 3 years off in the very prime of his coaching career. They're dropping $100 million on John Harbaugh. I'm sure Mike Tomlin felt like, man, somebody can drop $100 million on me, if not $120 million on me. And he says no. And so Art Rooney exposed this, I believe, yesterday in talking about Tomlin and what his plans were going to be, and that he doesn't expect Tomlin to re-enter the coaching deal immediately. Let's play the clip.
Say that I wasn't shocked, but I wasn't expecting that conversation yesterday either. There were, when you get to this stage of a career, obviously, he even mentioned it himself that he was nearer to the end than the beginning, and so, you could see that coming, and so as I say, I can't say that I was shocked.
Would you have been willing?
I'll leave it to him to explain to you someday what all went into his decision. I think that in my mind and the discussion we had, it was probably more of a family-related decision than a football-related decision. But as I say, I don't want to speak for Mike on that.
You want to talk about the contract itself, but obviously he's still under contract. There could be compensation or trade. Is that something that did he indicate he might want to coach again, and would you be interested in something like that?
Mike indicated that he did not anticipate coaching, at least, in the near future. I think he wants to spend time with his family and do some of the kinds of things he hasn't been able to do for the last, many, many years. And so, if something like that comes up, we'll deal with it when it comes up. But right now, that doesn't seem to be on his radar.
That's the interesting part. He doesn't anticipate Mike Tomlin coaching in the near future. That sounds like this year obviously is out, maybe next year, maybe the year after that. Which leads to a question. Why? And he kind of indicated, or Rooney kind of let off a smoke signal about spending time with his family. There are reports, speculation that perhaps, and I don't think I'm betraying any confidence. I think this, or I'm not even betraying any confidence. I don't think I'm speaking out of line here. There are reports that his wife may have some sort of health issue, and that is driving it. But there is also speculation that Mike has some repair to do, perhaps with his wife, perhaps with their relationship, and I'll leave it at that. But that speculation is widespread all throughout Pittsburgh. It's very similar, and I've shared with you all before, when Marty Schottenheimer left Kansas City, resigned as the Chiefs head coach, I believe in 1998. It was after a bad season. They put together this super team, and they underperformed, didn't make the playoffs. I believe they went 7-9 that year, and he left. But everybody in Kansas City was talking about some personal problems that Marty Schottenheimer needed to clean up and needed to get under control. And that Marty Schottenheimer left Kansas City because he needed some distance from some personal problems that he was having in Kansas City. I think I've talked about this. There was a connection between him and a waitress at Tanner South. And Tanner South was a sports bar directly, walking distance across the street from my house in Overland Park, Kansas. That conversation and speculation was everywhere. I bring all this up just to say that, it doesn't make sense to me for Mike Tomlin to step away from football for the near future unless there are other issues